The death of Samuel cast a shadow over Israel. His absence was deeply felt, especially by a young man named David. David was no ordinary Israelite. He was a gifted musician, a courageous warrior, and the one chosen by God to be the next king. Yet David was not on the throne. He was in the wilderness, a fugitive on the run from the jealous rage of King Saul. David and his loyal followers found refuge in the desolate beauty of the desert of Paran. It was a harsh land of rugged canyons and scorching sun. Survival was a daily challenge, a constant test of their strength and resourcefulness. Little did David know that a fateful encounter awaited him in this desolate land. Not far from David's wilderness refuge in the region of Maon lived a wealthy man named Nabal. Nabal was a powerful landowner. His flocks of sheep and goats were vast. He was a man ruled by greed, selfishness, and a quick temper. In stark contrast to her husband, Nabal's wife Abigail was known for her intelligence, beauty, and wisdom. She possessed a rare combination of grace and strength, a keen mind, and a compassionate heart. While Nabal was driven by greed and self-importance, Abigail was known for her diplomacy and her ability to see the bigger picture. Their marriage was a study in contrasts, a constant source of speculation and gossip among those who knew them. Abigail bore the burden of her husband's folly with remarkable resilience. It was Abigail's strength of character and her unwavering faith in God that would soon be put to the ultimate test. Life in the wilderness was harsh. Provisions were scarce. David and his men often found themselves relying on the generosity of others to supplement their meager supplies. They had, on occasion, provided protection to local shepherds and farmers, guarding their flocks from bandits and wild animals. So when David learned that Nabal was shearing his sheep, a time of feasting and celebration, he saw an opportunity to request assistance.
Peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be to all that you have.
He then requested that Nabal show his gratitude by providing some food and supplies for David and his men. When Nabal received David's messengers, he reacted with disdain and contempt.
Who is this David? Who is the son of Jesse? There are many servants these days who break away from their masters. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my meat that I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to men when I do not know where they are from?
When David's men returned and told him of Nabal's insulting response, his anger burned with righteous fury.
Every man strap on his sword.
Blinded by rage and a thirst for vengeance, David set out with 400 of his men to confront Nabal and exact retribution. David, the man after God's own heart, was now consumed by a desire for revenge. The journey from the wilderness to Carmel was fueled by anger and the promise of violence. David and his men rode with a fierce determination, their thoughts fixed on the punishment they would inflict upon Nabal and his household. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain, David and his men drew closer to Carmel. Bloodshed seemed inevitable. But unknown to David, a plan was already in motion, orchestrated by a woman of extraordinary wisdom and courage to avert disaster. While Nabal feasted carelessly, oblivious to the impending danger, one of his servants approached Abigail, fear etched on his face.
Please, mistress, you must do something. David has sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, and he railed at them.
The servant explained how David's men had protected them during the sheep-shearing season and how Nabal had responded with insults and refused their request for provisions.
Now they are on their way, and they are intent on revenge. They will kill us all, master and servants alike.
Abigail did not waste time with recriminations or despair. She knew her husband's temperament, his quick temper, and his stubborn pride. Without hesitation, Abigail sprang into action. She quickly gathered a large quantity of food and supplies: bread, wine, roasted grain, raisins, and fig cakes. She loaded the provisions onto donkeys, entrusting them to her servants. Then, without a word to her husband, she mounted her own donkey and set off in haste to intercept David and his men. As Abigail and her servants rounded a bend in the road, they came face to face with David and his armed men. Abigail dismounted her donkey and bowed low before David, her face veiled in a gesture of respect and humility.
My lord, please, Let your servant speak in your ears and hear the words of your maidservant. Please do not pay attention to that worthless man, Nabal. He is just like his name. His name means fool, and folly goes wherever he goes."
Abigail's words were carefully chosen, a blend of respect, flattery, and subtle rebuke. She acknowledged David's grievance without condoning his quest for vengeance. She appealed to his better nature, reminding him that he was a man of honor, a leader chosen by God.
"My lord, as the Lord lives and as your soul lives, the Lord has held you back from blood guilt and from avenging yourself with your own hand. Now then, may your enemies and those who seek harm to my lord be like Nabal."
Abigail's words were like balm on David's wounded pride. Her wisdom, her courage, and her genuine concern for his well-being disarmed him.
Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who sent you this day to meet me. And blessed be your discretion, and blessed be you, who have kept me this day from blood guilt, and from avenging myself with my own hand.
David accepted Abigail's peace offering, his heart filled with gratitude for her timely intervention. He returned to his men, his thirst for vengeance replaced by a profound sense of God's providence. Meanwhile, Nabal remained oblivious to the danger he had been in, and the miraculous deliverance his wife had secured. He continued feasting and drinking, his heart hardened by greed and arrogance. But his recklessness would not go unpunished. The Bible tells us that the Lord struck Nabal down, and he died 10 days later. Nabal's death was a stark reminder that God's justice, while sometimes slow, is always sure. Abigail's bravery had saved not only her household, but also David from a terrible sin. News of Nabal's death reached David in the wilderness. He was saddened by the news, but he also recognized the hand of God at work. Nabal's demise had cleared the way for a new chapter in both David's life and Abigail's. David sent messengers to Carmel to ask for Abigail's hand in marriage. He had been deeply impressed by her wisdom, her courage, and her unwavering faith. He saw in her a woman worthy to be his wife, a queen in the making. When the messengers arrived at Abigail's home and told her of David's proposal, she was surprised but not entirely shocked. She accepted David's proposal, her heart filled with a mixture of gratitude, trepidation, and a quiet hope for the future. Abigail's life took an unexpected turn, from the wife of a foolish and harsh man to the wife of the future king of Israel. The story of David, Nabal, and Abigail, though thousands of years old, still resonates with profound relevance in our modern world. The characters and their choices offer timeless lessons about wisdom, conflict resolution, and the unseen hand of divine providence in our lives. Nabal stands as a cautionary example of how pride, arrogance, and a lack of self-control can lead to downfall. David's initial reaction to Nabal's insult highlights the dangers of allowing anger and the desire for revenge to cloud our judgment. Abigail shines as a beacon of wisdom, courage, and diplomacy. She teaches us that true strength lies not in physical might, but in the ability to remain calm under pressure, to see the bigger picture, and to act decisively with grace and humility. In a world often fraught with conflict, Abigail exemplifies the transformative power of peaceful intervention. Perhaps the most enduring lesson from this biblical narrative is the affirmation of God's unseen hand orchestrating events in our lives. Just when all hope seems lost, when anger and vengeance threaten to prevail, we see God's providence at work, guiding the hearts of individuals and shaping outcomes in ways we could never imagine. Abigail's courageous intervention, her willingness to risk her own safety to avert bloodshed, serves as a poignant reminder that God often uses ordinary individuals to accomplish extraordinary things. Her story encourages us to embrace our own potential for courage and wisdom, trusting that God can use us, even in the midst of seemingly impossible situations, to be instruments of peace, reconciliation, and divine justice. As we navigate the complexities of our modern world, facing our own personal Nabals and grappling with the temptation to react in anger and haste, let us remember the timeless wisdom of Abigail. Let us strive to be peacemakers, bridge builders, and people of unwavering faith, trusting in God's providence to guide our steps and orchestrate His perfect will in our lives.